It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're reacting and having a discussion about a video from Flowerdilly titled DBD kinda sucks at the moment, British Yap. Which the title had me dying laughing from, from the second I read it. So I wanted to dive into it, which this was submitted by one of you guys in the community. So if you want to be a part of those people that can submit videos to get reviewed and discussed, go ahead and jump into the Discord. Make sure you join in and accept the rules. You scroll down and hit that little knife emoji so you can talk with the rest of us about DBD and other things. Doesn't really have to be DBD related. Just join the community. That being said, I'm gonna dive in. It seems like from what I've seen, they are a Claire main, so I can see they might be a Resident Evil enjoyer. So this is already going to be fantastic. I want to hear new perspectives, especially when it comes down to people who main a lot of Survivor. They can also offer a unique perspective because they probably have more hours on Survivor than I would. So let's get into it.
The concern I have about how the game is going to be making any possible progress in the next few years, like, because it is not looking good at the moment. I mean, the numbers are the same they've always been, maybe even ever so slightly dropping.
Oh no, I agree with that entirely. I've seen people discuss that in the comment section of my own videos. I'm talking about this topic. They always say, oh, but the numbers are the same, the data's the same. But then how do you explain how every content creator that you're seeing nowadays has been discussing why the game's in a bad state? How do you explain like the constant disconnects across the board? Like, we're seeing disconnects like running rampant nowadays, and then a few months before that we had the Go Next epidemic that already had the whole yanking the hook thing, and then they removed that feature, so now they're just like disconnecting like crazy. And after the Karasu release and stuff like that, so it's like the data could say one thing, but then how do you explain the consensus of the players? Like that is something that you, like, to those people that are saying that, it's like, how do you explain that part of it? Like, how do you explain that every match people are disconnecting if it's perfectly fine and nothing's happening, right? So I agree with this point here. We can include the data, it could be pretty much consistent, but that doesn't really explain, you know, that aspect of it. So that I'm glad that we have that to address in this situation.
But I'm going to start off with the first reason why I think this is happening, and one is that this game is not beginner friendly, like, at all. I mean, yeah, you have the tutorial, it's a simple tutorial, but it doesn't give you the full sort of like experience of actually going against someone in a real life game, and it kind of like it intimidates people, right? Because you get the blood web thrown at you, you get all these characters to unlock, and it's very overwhelming.
I 100% agree with this. I actually discussed this in previous videos. I've said that the one way that we can really improve the experience for everybody is if we actually decide to stop and improve the actual tutorial so people can understand exactly what they're going up against. I've seen comparisons to Marvel Rivals where they said like there could be like an arena kind of thing, and maybe you can select characters to play as and hop in there and kind of test things out and kind of see how things interact or other things like that. I've seen the you know, that idea kind of thrown around, and I think it's a really good one, especially when we're talking about having to try to teach people, you know, what characters do, what aren't they able to do, like how are they different from another killer. And in other situations you could even say like with tiles with Survivor as well, like they probably aren't entirely understanding how that works, or even the blood web. Like, we don't even have any information for that. It's extremely bare bones for how much information that this game has to offer. So the fact that we're not having that as an option, we're not having that for people who are joining into the game, is a problem. Like, we can gain all these new players because of these licenses, but then we have to sit around and think, but how do you retain these people if they don't even understand like how to play their game? And then it's reliant on them to search the information on their own, and on top of that, that's if they want to actually take the time out to learn those things from these creators that do post these types of things, like Mr. Taterhead when it comes down to looping ability and things like that. And then also we can also talk about other people that are posting tutorial videos or talking about like match reviews to how to play better, which I'm usually I used to post those a lot more. And I also even offer coaching for people that want to do that. I've coached people before, and it's the same thing. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff. It's, to me, I compare it to like a fighting game, because when you're loading into a fighting game, there's like an ocean of things that you can learn about, whether it be frame data, how a character's moves work, when to block, how to block, understanding counterplay, understanding movement. Like, there's a lot of different aspects of it that come into play, and I think that it's what makes the game interesting and unique in that sense. But it also is what also can push a lot of people away when diving into this, especially because there's still a lot of people that truly believe this is still a party game, when in reality a party game doesn't have any competitive sort of matchmaking. A party game does not have a massive level of depth to this point where almost anyone can load up Mario Party or something like that, or Uno, and kind of understand the rules. But then if you load up DBD, there's like 1,000 different things that you probably aren't even aware of, so that when you do end up going down as a survivor, or if you end up not getting your hit or getting your down as a killer, you wouldn't understand exactly what it is that prevented you from doing that. So that in itself, I think, is another contradiction that a lot of people like to hold on to, I think, to try to justify, I would say, in my opinion, justify their lack of knowledge for the game, or at least the lack of a desire to want to improve at their game, or in anything like that. But that's just, how I look at it. That's purely opinion. But that's just what I'm guesstimating in this sense of why people kind of lean into but it's a party game thing.
And after a while, you lose like so many games, and it's just so like, it's frustrating. It's a very frustrating game. Playing Dead by Daylight is like having a toxic relationship, because you love the game, but the game don't love you. So there are a few reasons that go into this not being beginner friendly, and being beginner friendly kind of attaches into all of these points I'm gonna make. This isn't a scripted video, by the way, so it's gonna sound like a lot of rambling, but I thought I'd want to like express my point anyway. If you hear a lot of laughing, there are people in the background, and I just wanted to make this video for fun. So yeah. So again, my first point, it not being beginner friendly. The second point I have to make is the matchmaking. The main reason it is not beginner friendly, or friendly at all, is the matchmaking is absolutely atrocious. Because I'll be playing on my own, and I'll get some, I don't know, poor baby hillbilly who's never touched a weapon in his life, or a controller, and he's getting absolutely bullied the hell out of by these rank 1 iridescent survivor mains, right? And as a survivor main myself, I feel horrible every time it happens. Now, my dad's a killer main, and I hear about this stuff all the time, right? It is atrocious. The balance in the game is awful, because behavior always favors one side more than the other. You will always hear it.
That is the thing that, before we touch on that second part, we're going to touch on the matchmaking first. So when it comes to matchmaking, we understand that there is an MMR system, and how that functions is you're going to be going against what the system thinks that you're qualified, I guess you could say qualified, or are able to compete against, at least of equal skill level, to whichever opponent you're up against. Now, what ends up happening, and I think this is what happens with a lot of people, especially when they're going with this in general, is like, because it's trying to like both match you with somebody that they think you're capable of being able to at least be at equal of skill level to, then they're also trying to take into account actual queue time. Now, it was covered in another video that is probably going to be linked at the end of this video, but Scott does bring up the point in a previous video that I discussed, that when they did implement MMR, like initially, it was perfect MMR in the sense that it would just try to match you exactly where you would be matched against. So then a lot of people were struggling to go into matches, because it would take like 2 hours to even find a match, because it was trying to find that the players that were at your skill level the entire time. And then because Behavior saw that, they were like, okay, we need to update that so that it can also prioritize queue time. So what ends up happening is you'll have a match where you go against like somebody who's pretty new. The system says, okay, you are capable of beating this player, so let's raise you up a little bit and then put you against somebody a little bit more skilled. Then when it does that, it's probably a lot harder than it's probably normally is, or you probably can't compete as effectively, especially, you know, with solo queue, your teammates, whatever have you. So then the match gets really hard, and then you end up getting lowered back to where you were, which then goes back to that, like, you know, that player where it's like they're not really, you know, really that good or pretty new. And then because you win against that, it kind of like leaves you in a cycle where that happens. Now, the problem that occurs, obviously, is that, and I think this is why it's a sort of player-base wide problem, is that I think that because the vast majority of the player base are casual to average players in terms of skill level, in terms of the amount of wins they can get, and just overall knowledge of the game, I think that is why the vast majority of people are facing that same situation, because of the fact that that's the bracket that they stay in. Now, even at like the MMR I'm at with my main being Ghostface, I do sometimes encounter like a slightly less skilled team, but mainly it's because of their lack of communication that I can usually take advantage of it. Most of the time, though, I will say that I'm usually facing people that are very competent, usually very skilled, so it's pretty much what I expect it to be. But even at the level I'm at when I'm playing in the game, I also see that happen, and that's just how it goes. That is just, unfortunately, how the matchmaking goes in order for the queue times to actually be at a reasonable amount of time, be less than a few minutes at most. And that, unfortunately, I don't think is a very easy situation to solve. I just think that is something that just kind of comes with a game like this. And I think that even applies to any multiplayer game as well. Like if you even consider Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, you know, a recent example. Like you're gonna be playing in casual, and you're just gonna end up having really bad teammates. I even remember on Rainbow Six Siege, like I could be, you know, it was quite fun, and I was probably one of the better players on the team usually, because they would get, you know, popped pretty quickly. So it usually kind of comes with the territory, especially if you are solo queuing, and if you are, you know, usually even dealing with you're playing with at least a teammate or something like that. It's still going to be very difficult to you know, get consistent wins in that sense, for the survivor side at least.
From a killer main, oh, the game favors survivors, which it kind of does at the moment, and then when they start favoring killers, the survivor main's going, oh, they're favoring the killers, and it just ends up being this like constant cycle where there is no balance.
I 100% agree with Dilly here, because it is true. We're hearing it ourselves from a survivor main themselves. It is indeed survivor favored. Now, I wouldn't say survivor sided, because if that were entirely true, then that would mean that my win rate would not be that high, right? With one, like, mind you, one of the weakest killers in the game being Ghostface, my win rate would not be currently at like 80 something right now. I'm still trying to, you know, get more data and play more matches when I can. But as the current moment that I am recording this, I have at least an 80% win rate, so I'm winning pretty consistently, pretty much overall, with a weak killer. So if it was entirely survivor sided, that means I probably would never win at all, or at least I would win a way less amount. So that is to an extent not entirely true. It's not entirely accurate to say, but I will say it is survivor favored, and that's what I want to kind of reframe it as, because it does indeed favor them, but then it lies on to what are they capable of doing, and then that ties back into their skill level. If they're able to be skilled enough, then it would become survivor sided overnight. Like if every survivor decided to basically become like Momo 7th or some comp player overnight, then oh yeah, the game's cooked. Like the killers are done. Like there's no way. But either way, and I think that even applies to the for the survivor players that say it's killer sided. I think like if every single killer was at that level of like Momo 7th, I think it might become like killer sided at that point, depending, because of the fact that it might be across the board. But Either way, in this example we're talking about the survivor end, and we can agree and we can actually understand that it is indeed survivor favored for a multitude of reasons. We have evidence to prove that, especially with each patch. Now, I don't entirely agree with the fact that it ever has been killer sided. I don't really know if there ever has been a time where that was the case. A lot of the time when even old DBD, we're talking about like on release, we've even seen that a lot of maps were riddled with infinites. They had like for example, like it was like Overcome, the perk was base kit on Survivor back then. You had like DS that you could constantly use. Your Dead Hard was like an exhaustion that you can like, you know, give you a boost, like, you know, kind of like Dramaturgy is nowadays, except it's like a full movement boost so you can prevent yourself from getting hit. And the characters obviously were not really that optimized as well, so even back then I would say that it was pretty survivor favored in this case, almost sided if you will. And then obviously as the game has progressed, we still see that it has been more survivor favored than killer, especially because we also have seen an example where they brought up, like, they love to bring up like patch 6.1, or I forget which patch it is, but they were saying like, oh, they added this gen kick bonus and they added this other thing to it, so instead of it like doing like no damage, it does more or something. Everyone always forgets that, and it's like, that was over 2 years ago. You know, we actually had a killer patch that actively buffed up the base kit of the killers. And that, I mean, come on now, like when we're talking about DBD, we're talking about the current state, the current patch, the current release, like we're talking about right now. Like, patch was just dropped a month ago, like we're talking about right now. And we can see with each patch we've seen another buff and another buff and another buff to exhaustion perks. We've seen a buff to healing perks. We've seen a buff to even like gen speeds as a result of those two things happening. So efficiency is through the roof nowadays. And anybody like trying to claim that it's killer sided really needs to offer more evidence, because there's really not a lot to go off of if you can say it's killer sided when we can fully prove with evidence that it is indeed survivor ended. Let's continue.
And I mean, every single time a new killer comes out, there's like 100,000 billion bugs they need fixing, which will lead into that in a second. But yeah, the matchmaking is horrible. You either get a iridescent rank 1 survivor being put with a poor baby hillbilly, or you get an iridescent rank 1 killer getting put with like 10 baby survivors who don't know what they're doing and only have one single collective brain cell. So yeah, the balance is completely off. That they need to.
I do want to touch on something really quickly, because I noticed that a lot of players kind of make this mistake. I don't know if it's because of like the past systems that DBD used to have, but the ranking system that DBD does have nowadays has no indication of skill, has no indication of anything besides just simple playtime in the season. You can call it season in quotations, because there's a rank reset every 14th. So when that happens, you just get a million blood points if you're Eerie 1 when you get there, and you just get pips, and you can't de-pip anymore. So skill and it has nothing to do with your ranking. Is simply just getting pips. You can literally farm and then get like 2 +2 or +1 or something like that, not even killing anybody at this point, whatever have you. It's all point based. It has nothing to do with, you know, your matchmaking. It doesn't affect your matchmaking. It does not affect who you queue with. It does not affect anything besides showing that you have a higher amount of play time within the time frame of the ranking, basically. So it's pretty much like a pointless thing. Hopefully that clears it up. I do want to make its own dedicated video about it, because I think that it's like a very common mistake that a lot of people make, and it's surprisingly still common, despite the fact that people constantly are saying like it has nothing to do with anything with matchmaking, anything with anything. It's literally just a blood point bonus. It's irrelevant.
Fix the matchmaking. I don't know how. I mean, even again, like, I'll get put in a game with some poor Sable that has 200 ping, and every single time a killer tries to swipe at her, she's on the other side of the map and has no idea about it. So, next point I have, going back to what I was mentioning earlier, the bugs in this game after every single update are so infuriating to the point where people don't look forward to updates that much anymore. I mean, I remember when I first started playing Dead by Daylight and new killers would come out and everyone would be so thrilled about it. But now with the Cross Sue, I call her Sue because I don't want to mispronounce her name, sorry girl. Yeah. But the problem with her is when she came out, there were so many different bugs. It was unbelievable. I mean, the recovery thing changed, and like even Ghostface camera stopped working for some goddamn reason. The bots stopped working when people disconnected. Pallets weren't even connecting with rocks. I mean, there was one point where my character started floating mid-game. I'm not even kidding. Like, genuinely, the game started tweaking out. It was horrendous, right?
I do want to agree with that. I think the game is always like ridiculously buggy every release for some reason. And to add on to that, for whatever reason, like the game is like so poorly optimized that I even seen in the server, which if you should go ahead and join it, make sure you accept the rules with the little knife emoji. So somebody who plays on the console version was saying that their console was overheating from playing DBD, just overheating for no reason. Like no other game was doing that. No idea why that's happening. Overheating. And I play on both PC and console, so I tried to figure it out. And I personally haven't seen it, but when I'm playing on the PC, for some reason it like takes up so much resources of the PC now, like compared to last patch before the cross even released. Like it's extremely difficult to even record anything with DBD running. Like I can't record DBD, I can't play DBD on the PC version on Steam because it makes the game's frame rate just completely cook itself because the PC can't handle it. Like it's so weird that all of a sudden from one patch to the next the game just like got way horribly optimized, which I didn't have this issue at all before this. So I'm like, what the heck is going on with their game? They added one single killer and all of a sudden the game just like makes everything explode. Like it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I mean, even after the recent one that just came out with the new cosmetics, I forgot the name of it because I'm a bit stupid, but even with like the new cosmetics and stuff, the frame rate of my game was absolutely awful. Bearing in mind, I've had no previous problems with my frame rate in my game.
Thank you. Somebody freaking said it. I'm not the only one. Thank you. I'm not the only one. I'm literally playing on the lowest settings for both. I'm playing on low settings and nothing turned on the game itself. And then I'm also having the super low settings on OBS. And we're just getting like frame drops off the wazoo. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, this is insane. Like, I've never had this as a problem.
My computer runs Dead by Daylight perfectly. In fact, beautifully even. I never installed anything like before this update besides the update. So it was definitely the update doing this to my game. And I just find it so disappointing because, you know, you want to be excited. You don't want to be worried that your game's going to break, you know? So that was problem number 2. Problem number 3, I would have to say, back to the imbalance with survivors and killers. The way like, whenever they update a new killer, there's always something either too, like, how do I put this? There's either something too OP about them and meta, or there's something like way too like crap about them. Like there is nothing you can do to make this killer good, right? And the survivors don't want to play against killers that are too hard to go against. And I mean, I usually play against any killer. I never disconnect. I mean, the only time I'll ever give up is at the end of the match when there's 2 of us left and the other person ain't doing anything and it's clear they want hatch. So, you know, Gully, go get your hatch.
Yeah, that is incredibly based, by the way. I wish we had more survivor players like that, because we're within a disconnecting, like, disconnecting, like DC crazy disco, whatever you want to call them, man. I got a disco epidemic around here in the game right now. We're getting DCs off the wazoo. It's actually kind of insane, but I gotta say, I mean, I don't disagree with really anything really being made in the video here. I think it's a fantastic video. I think it covers a lot of things, especially from a survivor main's perspective, which is what we want to hear from, because, you know, I'm not the only, like, I know I'm not the only one saying these are issues within the game, because I'm trying to speak for the killer players, and I'm trying to also include conversations from the survivor side as well, to try to make sure that what I'm saying is accurate, because this is just a problem, dude. Like, the game is cooked. Like what are we supposed to be doing right now?
But I've never ever disconnected in my life, but the amount of times I've loaded into a game and bam, they've all disconnected. They're claiming you're hacking, wall hacks. I mean, I've even got a few screenshots of this poor huntress getting yelled at because someone had bad ping, and they were like, oh my god, I'm gonna report you and get blood points and blah blah blah. I don't know what they were yapping about, but you know, it's horrible. I mean, people go AFK instantly. I mean, I'll spend like 20 minutes loading into a game and the killer disconnects because they don't like the map. Like, like that is like the basis of Dead by Daylight at the moment. You're even lucky to even get into a full game at this point. I mean, even sometimes a survivor gets hooked once, and then all of a sudden they want to play the buddy game and do blood point farming, and that's not playing the game. It's boring. I mean, I even saw this one guy, I'll put his @ there and I'll tag him in the description. I saw this one guy doing a xenomorph game, and the first game he literally plays as he starts recording, the survivors give up and they start trying to blood point farm.
Can I just say that this creator is incredibly based, which, if you want to watch the rest of the video, it'll be linked in the description so you can watch the rest of the Yap sesh. But my final thoughts really is, like, this pretty much encapsulates a lot of things that I've been talking about previously. I have to say that I appreciate a survivor player that is not trying to disconnect, just trying to play the game and enjoy it, and is even able to point out, like, yeah, it's a bit survivor favorite lately, you know, like, this is kind of insane. Also just showing what a good survivor player should be. You play the game. Like, it's okay to have a bit of a challenge. Like, that's sort of how it works, you know, and that's applicable to both ends, dude. You know, and as much as I can clown on survivors, I also have to clown on some killer mains too, because, you know, killers, by its very nature, is all skill. Like, pretty much, because you need to be able to learn your characters to even be able to perform well. So as much as I can, and I have to equalize the playing field here, because at the end of the day, it's a skill issue for the entire DBD community a lot of the time when it comes down to a lot of this stuff. Like, there's a level of burnout that's going on that's probably causing a lot of disconnects. There is just the state of the game. The game is just ridiculously broken. I mean, the list goes on, right? A lot of stuff to talk about, but that's why we're here. But if you want to watch the rest of the original video, it'll be linked in the description. Go ahead and check out Dilly. And also, make sure you check out the links in the description to support the channel. Consider becoming a member on YouTube or a Patreon member as well. If you, either one is perfectly fine. We have exclusive content for both platforms. And let's also not forget that you can also become a sub on Twitch to get your name read off at the end of every video. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Well, I wanted to go ahead and take some time out to thank all my members from Patreon with Crow King 101, my YouTube members, Majora Jeff, Endire, Evil Peachy YT, Zero Mocker, Christian, HexDev, and Crow Vader, and for my Twitch subscribers, Cake is the Road, Danica 2002, Final Girl _Bunny, Acklefin, Chili Cinderace, Zero Mocker, Ginsburg, Johns 117 _ Lovely Ghost TTV, Jar TTV, Zazaboo, and Crow Vader. Just wanted to thank you guys. And if you also want to have your name read off at the end of every video, make sure you join on one of these platforms to get one of those perks, as well as the other perks you get. So, appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much.